Welcome back to the Tastemakers, the podcast where we curate your television and movie viewing habits, let you know what you should and shouldn't watch. My name is Grace Leeder. Typically, I'm joined by Taran Armstrong. Taran wrapping up the Big Brother season and getting ready for his book launch as well. I guess I didn't do this last week. You still have time to pre-order his book. Very exciting. But I'm joined by some very special guests this week to honorary tastemaker. They're always tastemakers. They're also honorary tastemakers. First, I'm joined by Dr. Amanda. Amanda, how are you doing?
Grace, I am so happy to be here. My palate is cleansed. I've had my amuse-bouche. I'm ready to jump into a television meal and talk about TV with you. This is such a great concept, the Tastemakers. I love this because often there's so much TV over the summer. I felt like there wasn't that much TV, but now I think there is a lot of stuff that people need to know about.
Too much? Who's to say? Maybe me. A big week for television. So it's not enough for just you and I, Amanda.
No.
We're also joined by Ariel. Ariel, how you doing?
Hey, I'm good. I'm excited to be on my first food podcast. So yeah, we'll see how this goes.
Which one of you is crying and which one of you is laughing?
I'm usually both. Usually both.
Yes, co-host of the Crying Laughing podcast, doing many things with it, watching lots of TV as well, doing a Mad Men rewatch, watching the 21st Century movies.
So many movies.
Did 6 Feet Under. I was like, oh my god, am I gonna misremember the show that you did? I did it.
It's dead now. It doesn't matter.
But Grace hosts our wonderful podcast on the Crying Laughing feed about 21st century in cinema, which is great. I've gotten to join Grace on a couple of those, and Ariel has as well.
Yeah. Last week I talked about Gladiator with Philly, so very exciting. All right, we're here to talk about TV. What we normally do up front is talk about TV news. I do feel like I almost forgot to put it on the agenda because last week I mentioned that Jimmy Kimmel was coming back to ABC to do a late night show. Disney and ABC sort of relented and let him come back on the air. And it feels like it's been we literally were like, did it pass? Is like the news passed on like the biggest First Amendment violation in the history of the last 15 years or whatever. But no, we'll talk about it anyway. Jimmy Kimmel returned with I watched it on YouTube, didn't watch it live, but it broke sort of his, I think his highest viewed episode or second highest viewed ever, something like that. Like a lot of people watched the episode. Did you watch it, Amanda?
I did not watch the whole Jimmy Kimmel monologue, but I did, of course, I read a lot of the coverage and I saw a lot of clips from.
The problem was I was not caught up. I had to start at season 1.
Right. You have to see the whole thing, right? Or else, yeah. I mean, obviously, this was like a huge, though, transcending the entertainment news world to become like a major national or international story. I mean, one of the most dramatic free speech violations, in the history of America. Maybe it was.
I keep sounding crazy. Like I'm like too hyperbolic, and then I'm like, I guess I'm not. I think I'm not.
It was a big deal. It was a big deal, and Kimmel came back, and like the parts that I saw, like very, very heartfelt, like very much marking the importance of the moment. It's not about him. It's about the right for shows like this to exist and to engage in commentary. I know, Ariel, you did watch because you texted me because Jimmy actually stole one of our jokes.
Yes, it's always about me. But yes, I was watching. I'm not a late night person. Rephrase. I am a person who watches a lot of things late night, but I do not watch late night TV, in quotes. But I was like, well, I gotta watch the season premiere of the just canceled but rushed to release our Jimmy Kimmel show. Yeah, exactly. And I watched it, and I was surprised. I would like to see, the numbers, the fall off numbers from like after the first few minutes of the monologue of the rating. Because I certainly was like, wow, I did that. Okay, what else is on? I was surprised that he perhaps naively at how emotional he got. But certainly it felt like it was from the heart, and I appreciated on a personal level that he took the opportunity to say some political things because the entire thing was political, unfortunately, and was made so. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see who else No, hopefully we won't see who else. I won't even finish the sentence. But I'm happy that that free speech won, I guess. That seems
Yeah.
That's so good that you said it on the podcast. Off air, you were saying you weren't happy that free speech was. So that's great that publicly.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I do think. I think mostly. I do think there's a world. There's never a world where. I mean, I do feel like it makes the most sense that Jimmy Kimmel went back and did the. There was a lot of like, should he just not go back? And it's like, I don't think you can like let that happen. That can't be the narrative. Is that like, you know? And then he goes and does like a podcast on the Ringer or whatever. But I do think like there is a world where like, you know, I think the joke is that like, yeah, we all watched late night for one time, you know. I didn't even watch late night. I watched the YouTube video, and that's how I watch late night, you know. And so I don't know whether like, I feel like people are really desperate to like hang on to late night. And also there's so many, I think Conan is the best example of somebody who like, I was like pretty upset when his late night show was on, even though I didn't watch it. And then I feel like he has found this whole other medium through podcasting and shows on HBO Max to like deliver comedy to us in a way that I think that like we're not probably far off from, like, you know, at least there not being this many late night shows, and that we, you know, we get these sort of comedians through different formats. But it is good that Jimmy Kimmel is back on, and I think the record, he broke the record 6.3 million, with even including the boycotts from the areas that weren't
that weren't covering it because the Sinclair media.
Yeah.
So there's some markets that didn't pick him back up again. I think it says like at least on Jimmy Kimmel Live, he reported that they were broadcasting to 75% of the country. So amazing, like, show of support. I mean, Grace, you've talked about this a lot. Like, late night is kind of like, you know, we've experienced the decline of the monoculture in terms of television, and late night was like a huge cornerstone of like, this is what the TV viewing world is thinking about on any given moment. So maybe it is in its last gasps anyway, but it shouldn't be this way that it goes down. And so I was glad to see him back. One of the other like entertainment dimensions though of this story is what happened to everybody's Disney Plus accounts during this ordeal. And we were one of the households that canceled our Disney Plus, and it's already starting debates with my children about certain shows that are coming back and whether or not we're allowed to get Disney Plus back. So we'll see how we navigate those uncertain waters. But I am not used to looking at stock prices. It looks a little bit like a mountain, and it's got like these peaks and valleys. And the Disney stock did plummet pretty precipitously after the canceling of Jimmy Kimmel. And obviously he made a joke about this. There was a lot of coverage of people canceling their Disney Plus, like the webpage crash. And it seems like it's on the slow uptick right now. It seems to be starting to recover. So, I mean, even if, you know, we don't have free and fair elections, we can always just cancel our streaming services as a way of pledging our that's a way of exercising our right to vote, right, Ariel?
Yeah. Silver lining. Gotta use the tools that capitalism gives us.
Noah Hawley must have been so happy that he's like, oh, thank God he got it back on the air after, you know, before my finale aired. Like after we all boycotted Disney. I get my Disney. This is gonna make me sound old. I get my Disney because I have a cable package. So, you know.
A what, Grace?
Yeah, I know. Which I used to watch sports and reality TV.
I know. It's very un-American of you, Grace.
Yeah. Okay, I do. Maybe fun segue here with monoculture, which I feel like if we definitely have lost the monoculture, but every once in a while there's a thing that is kind of monoculture, and I feel like one of the things we have that is about as close to that as much is Taylor Swift. And Taylor Swift has an album coming out. The Life of a Showgirl is the album, and she had a movie going experience thing that happened. Was this 2 years ago, or was it? I don't think it was last year, because I think we were still doing Post Recaps Theater when Taylor Swift's.
I think that was 2 years ago, or more. It was definitely to 2022 or 2023.
Yes. So Taylor Swift did have like a bit of an agreement with AMC where they played her concert, full concert, and now
Yeah,
she
and
is
you couldn't
doing.
use your AMC passes either to go see
I
it.
believe you can't for this either. Is that right? Although it's cheaper. This one is a cheaper ticket, maybe. Anyway, she's doing a launch party at select theaters. I believe with AMC, in Canada it's with Cineplex, and it is sort of. I guess there's going to be like the video package for one of her singles and some behind the scenes footage, and then basically you can watch like lyric videos of every other song that's being released, and it's only happening this upcoming weekend. I think this is like kind
Thank
of
God.
an interesting but I do think this is interesting as like movie theaters struggle. I heard a stat recently that like basically like it's like 14% or something of movies are filled at any given time. That's like basically how the model, like that's a success in the movie going industry.
It's Taylor Swift and Tom Cruise, Grace. That's who's keeping theaters open.
And so the eventizing of theater space with Taylor Swift doing this this album release party, which I think is a good idea. Actually, I'm not going to go, I don't think, but I'm pro using movie theaters for more stuff like this. I don't know. What do you think, Amanda?
I think that events that bring people together are important, and I do like having these communal experiences. I mean, Taylor Swift is the queen of getting the most commercialization potential out of every single piece
100% true.
of thing that she creates, and like, I mean, more power to her. Get your bag. People will show up to this and will have a great time. And if the movie theater space isn't being used for something else, if we're not experiencing, like you said, Gracie's other
14%
communal events, like, then, you know, I guess it's good. I mean, I like the idea of diversifying the way that movie theaters are used to bolster the theater going experience generally.
What do you make of this, Ariel?
Well, yeah, I mean, we mentioned the possibility of late night being on its last legs, and that's always kind of in the conversation about movie theaters and how long they can last and how proliferated they can continue to be. I think, yeah, am I interested in this? No, but
that's so brave of you to say, Ariel.
I know you'll have to like blur my face and change my voice just for that specific like segment. But I am on team. All right, fine. They want to use it for like their meeting, and it's going to be really loud, and it's going to be misery for the people that work there for a couple hours. Whatever. These children and adults are keeping those people partially employed. So I guess, yeah, let's do it. Come on, Taylor.
I had a lovely time at the concert release, except for the fact that everybody kept like turning on their flashlight cameras to like, to like wave them. And then I felt like everyone could see me in a movie theater. I'm like, this isn't how it's supposed to be.
It's supposed to be dark and safe.
I'm anonymous here.
Yeah.
Did either of you, like, I don't know if you covered this on Tastemakers, Grace, but K-pop Demon Hunters
had a re-release,
had a like release
and
in
won
theaters,
the box office,
a sing-along. Like, my kids were very, very big on this. They really wanted to go. They couldn't make it because they had baseball games, but they had, you knew it. But we had friends that went to it, and it's like, the kids, like, I feel like it's a nice way to get kids to have a relationship with theater. I guess the theater is just for kids now. That seems to be what it's good for.
The youths.
There's a movie theater in Toronto here that, and maybe this is like they haven't been doing it recently, so maybe it didn't work, but they were doing television show releases. So I saw I didn't go to every episode, but they were doing the rehearsal. No, the curse was airing on Sunday nights before the episode aired. And what's the Pachinko? They aired the first episode, and Heartstopper. They have a really good relationship. That theater has a good relationship with Netflix, so they did some Netflix stuff. And I just feel like we should do that. They should do that more. And I mean,
we love watching Survivor in a theater.
I know.
Survivor fans.
That honestly is one of my favorite, theater going experiences I've had, is watching Survivor in a packed theater. It's so fun. And I do feel like in terms of us missing like monoculture stuff, like the idea of like a television show that's only plays a couple times on that, on that weekend before the episode comes out, I feel like would be such genius. There's likely a reason why it's not happening more mainstream, but I think the other person who's really mad about this Taylor Swift announcement is The Rock and Betty Safdie, who have The Smashing Machine coming out, who are probably like, we were going to win the box office, and then might not win the box office.
And then her not movie.
That's
she has this like move in her back pocket. Anytime she wants to like destroy a film that's coming out, she can just like.
Is it about a man?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay, so I'm probably not going to go see that. We'll see if I decide the last minute, but I think it's fun. I think it's a great use of the movie theater, and as you said, to like build movie going habits. Okay, last week I had I think I had mentioned on the podcast that a show called The Savant was coming out. This was about a woman who like sort of goes undercover onto like sort of like extremist message boards. Apple decided not right now. The culture is a little on edge.
Oh boy.
And perhaps we shall not release the show, The Savant, which then is it Jessica Chastain, who stars the show, came out and said, like, I've loved working with Apple. I do not agree with the decision to postpone the show. There's no sense of when it's going to come out and whether there'll be a cooler climate for this. But I thought it was very interesting that the show got delayed, pushed back, postponed.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I mean, when I saw, so Grace sent us a list of homework assignments of things that were coming out that we could check out. And when I saw The Savant, I was like, wait a minute. Okay, this is a show that's a word that starts with the letter S, so it must be on Apple TV. But here's where they went wrong, Ariel. There's not supposed to be an article in front. It's just supposed to be Savant.
Savant. Somebody made a mistake.
Somebody made a mistake. They were so on brand over there in Apple with their single S-word titles.
And they tried to do the PR stunt of saying it's not about the. It's actually the topic of the show is
topic, and everyone we all know it's about the. I was trying to think of if I could like convince Grace that I had somehow watched it, like they had released it, like micro released it or something, like quickly, and then decided to take it down. But then I was like, no, that doesn't make any sense. But in the future, I've seen it. I think it's fine.
The premise of this show, though, is like insane. Like the culture right now is such a tinderbox. Like it's really hard to know where the line is in terms of like what is going to be the kind of like either sci-fi or thriller or commentary that's going to like feel palatable, and what's going to be too much like, okay, this is too much like what the world is at this very
moment. I mean, there's a scene from a show we're going to talk about later that I had the thought of like, oh, how quaint this is, like, and maybe 5 or 10 years ago it would have been like, oh, we can't air this right now. Now it's like, no, it's fine.
Yeah,
it's I feel like there's a couple. I mean, the first episode, Ariel, you watched Slow Horses, right?
That's the one that. That's
there's a scene in that. Obviously, One Battle After Another came out this weekend and is very political and politicized. I think we'll talk a little bit about that. But this one gets pulled. Apple does seem to, for the most part, a thing that I really love about Apple is that like it does seem like they really they want people to just make stuff for them. And so they're like giving a lot of money to like, Martin Scorsese, and like Clooney did a movie on there, and like Alfonso Cuarón did the disclaimer. Like they are just willing to
financed F1.
Yes.
Partially,
so they're just like sort of like willing to let it go. And I feel like this is one that they were like, yeah, go ahead. And then they like the week before it came out, they're like, wait, hold on. I don't know. They're also the group. I think did Stewart leave Apple because they wouldn't let him talk about China? So there's some like Apple maybe is a little more like willing to.
No one's perfect. They're just like us corporations. They're flawed.
They're just like us, and that they're considered humans.
Space.
Okay. All right. The other things I don't think either of you had heard about this AI actress Tilly Norwood, who apparently got signed by an agency.
My favorite
blown
actress.
Up the internet. Tilly Norwood. This is terrible. This is bad. Don't do this.
This is gonna give me nightmares for the rest of my life, Grace. Yeah. I mean, I'm really worried about all of this. Like this is the example of what can we do in artistic commentary right now that's actually going to push the envelope beyond the nightmare world that we're living in. And it was like a couple of years ago that Mrs. Davis came out, I think, which was sci-fi dystopian, but also kind of like madcap, surrealistic portrayal of like an AI future gone awry. And it seemed so ridiculous at the
I know.
time.
That was April 2023.
And now it seems like we've already blown past what was hyperbolic in Mrs. Davis. And like the AI train, we talked about like on, post-show recaps when I did strike up the conversation, we talked about AI in, the Screen Actors Guild and the Directors Guild and the Writers Guild were all arguing to have like stronger AI protections in their contracts. And it was very much a sense of like, oh, of course, AI can't replace performers now, but maybe in 5 years, maybe in 10 years, it's like, no, a mere like months later, like it's already, there's an AI actor that's signed. I know that like our dearest love, Natasha Lyonne, is producing an AI movie. With the idea that like that her studio is gonna like do it the right way.
Let's do it the ethical way.
Yes. Uncanny Valley, I think, is the movie that she's making. That supposedly will all be created only with like, art that was, purchased and input into the thing is like, I mean, like I feel like like Karen Archibald, like the Rupert chatbot was like, for a long time, and I feel like it's like, why can't we just use AI for the fun stuff?
Know.
Why can't we just don't steal people's,
do more memes?
I know.
Don't steal people's intellectual property. Build it like not on that stuff, and then just like build it to have like Rupert Bonham saying funny things about Survivor.
Yes. What Grace is referring to is like dear friend of all the podcasts in this universe, Dan Schiffman, like created these AI chatbots, like going back now, this was pre-pandemic. This was maybe even 10 years ago. Like one that just like tweeted the way that Rupert Bonham on Survivor tweeted. And it's like, I feel like that was the sweet spot. Like we had done it.
Agree.
We had solved the biggest problem, which was like, how do we make silly inside jokes? And everything since then has been bad.
Agreed.
It's not great. I mean, I will just say, just like give like a grim, somewhat backstage look when I was doing like trailers and video ads for like certain TV shows for one of these evil corporations. In a previous career, not too long ago, there was a point where it was like, well, we need the person to say a line more like this. And it's like, well, that line doesn't exist in the script. Okay, well, we'll create the AI version and then have the actor record it later.
Ugh.
But like, it's like, oh God, it's such a slippery slope. It's like, can we do this? And we did.
That was the thing I always remember is that like sometimes when the trailer comes and it's like bad, it's like not then the movie isn't that thing. You're like, they're not made by the same teams. Like the person who makes the movie doesn't make the trailer for their.
It's
thing.
Also just sometimes and sometimes certain people are like really really involved in that process if they have a lot of weight to throw around, so to speak, or clout. But like sometimes it's so disconnected and it's kind of awful. But AI is gonna save it all.
Yeah, I'm reading about this Tilly Norwood, and the creator of Tilly Norwood, the AI actress, is Aline van der Welden, and she's the CEO of an AI-focused production company, Particle 6. The defense is that Tilly Norwood is not a replacement for a human being, but a creative work, a piece of art. Like many forms of art before her, she sparks conversation, and that in itself is the power of creativity. And that is some bullshit that ChatGPT wrote right there.
That's some real marketing nonsense. Even the name Grace, so it's like Norwood, like it's
Tilly Norwood.
Tilly Normal.
What do we do?
She's just a normal person, a normal actress.
Anyway, ridiculous. All right, let's talk about stuff that we watched. And I would love to say that it's not political, but a lot of the stuff we watch is very political. I feel like I don't know. I feel like the biggest thing that watched this week. I know Amanda, you checked this out, and I watched some of it. This is the Lowdown. I feel like this is the thing that people were talking about. It's coming. This is Sterling Harjo created Reservation Dogs. It's his next show. It stars Ethan Hawke. Sort of billed as like an Oklahoma noir, sort of like gritty, sort of thing. It's I believe also, is it based on a book or did he write it? I'm just gonna pull up the.
I think he
just wrote it. He wrote it. Oh no, it's loosely inspired by Leroy Chapman, a real human person. But it is working for
as far as we know.
The first 2 episodes dropped last week, and then it's going to be releasing weekly from there. And I know you
As
watched.
God intended, weekly releases.
That's right. I know you watched episode. It's most of
I
what
watched
came out.
most of both of them. I just I was falling asleep when I was watching the second
enough.
because it was so good. This is great. This is no, the headline of the week is this is the thing to watch. Like this
I
is
agree.
excellent. Yeah, it's everything you said. It's it's set in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which is where Sterling Harjo is from.
Yep.
He Ethan Hawke is he's leading the cast and just doing an exceptional job. Really looks like he's having so much fun in the role. He fully embodies this. I do kind of feel like in all of the seasons of Ethan Hawke's career, I kind of really feel like he's grown into something with this character, and it's amazing. It's noir, it's funny, it's whimsical, it's dark. I've enjoyed this so much. Keith David also has a lead role in this and is excellent. Yeah, I think that this is fantastic, and I'm really looking forward to keeping up with it week to week.
Yeah, Ethan Hawke plays Lee Rayburn, who is sort of he owns a small bookshop. He has a daughter. He also writes journalistic investigation articles, and so there's a sort of there's a thing that inciting incident at the beginning of the show that sort of leads him to start be sort of pulling at some threads, and that seems to unravel a bit. I know that some people talked about, because I think the show is pretty hyped up. I hyped it up last week. I know The Watch has been talking about how excited they are, and I know Chris Ryan did an interview with Ethan Hawke and Sterling Harjo after watching some episodes live. I feel like some people were like, "Oh, it's not quite as serious as I thought it would be." I think people were noir and thinking black and white, serious. It is pretty it's funny because I do think you're right to say it's both light and dark in terms of the subject matter is heavy, but the way it's all approached is pretty light and to an extent whimsical. But he is getting into these terrible in these situations that are scary. And so I don't know, I do feel though it does make sense if you look at the show, kind of forget about the idea of what a noir is, but think about this as an evolution from Reservation Dogs, which if people watch that, that show is very serious at times and also coming at everything with a lightness and there's a humor in it all that I think really tracks for me from that show to this show, where this is less comedy than that was, but there is so much of that Reservation Dogs DNA in this, I think, and I just think it's pretty excellently crafted. I know most folks, including myself, had the first 5 episodes. They just gave us the last 3. I haven't watched to see if it sort of sticks the landing, but I'm really enjoying it. Ariel, you haven't? Are you going to check this out? Is this on your
yeah, it is on my list. I was bummed that I didn't get to this one because I've been hearing such great things, but I'm a Ethan Hawke fan. I agree with Amanda about some, a little bit of a renaissance in recent years. I was a big fan of The Good Lord Bird, which is a miniseries that nobody watched because it dropped at the end of 2020, but it was sensational, honestly. And he was really good in that. So I for sure have been looking forward to checking this out.
Yeah, you're a self-described truth historian too, Ariel. So I think
it's true. I do love a true tale.
He says he's an anti-truth historian. And he always says
just a couple other things to note if you're interested in checking out this show. I think that it has a deep relationship with the place, with its setting as Tulsa, Oklahoma, and the history of that. And Lee Rayburn, the Ethan Hawke character, is a little bit of a Robin Hood vigil. It gets into race, it gets into history, it gets into property and class and justice, and it's very much tied to the history of this part of the United States. So I think it's very, very rich in terms of all of that background and how that's portrayed in the show.
Agreed. I hesitate because I feel like so many people are kind of watch it. I'm oh, I had such high expectations. I don't know how to say I loved it without setting people's expectations high, but I mean that's the nature of the thing. So I hope people stick with it. And I'm excited. I'm excited to finish it because I haven't been able
Yeah.
to finish it. So
Yeah. I saw Ethan Hawke in a restaurant once
no way.
in Taos, New Mexico.
He's gonna have he has a Richard Linklater movie coming out called Blue Moon. I believe that was limited release this past week, and then I think he has another movie. It's gonna be a little bit. Oh, and Black Phone 2 as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What was the facial hair situation, Amanda?
When I
In
saw
real
him
life,
in
yeah.
New Mexico. Oh, that was about 10. I think it was a scruff and a mustache, maybe.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'll write that down.
Okay.
All right, let's talk about. I think this is one that we all watched. This is the second season of English Teacher, which does come with a little bit of like a behind the scenes drama related to the show. It has sort of had a sensational it was like sort of the surprise hit of last year that it came out with season 1. It was airing weekly, and then some allegations came out about Brian Jordan Alvarez and the way he abused and harassed his sort of co-star in a production he was on. Disney, it seemed like the show wasn't going to come back, and then it sort of just like sneakily came out. I think the thing that's hard for me about this is like I do think season 1 is like there is something so timely and like it is cultural commentary in a way that I think is like really smartly done. Season 2, I watched the first 3 episodes and I thought it just does it is doing it again. So obviously I have conflicted feelings about this show, but as a television show, if we just talk about that, I did enjoy the episodes that I watched. The first 3, I think they've dropped them. There was some confusion about how many were dropping. I think the whole season
They
is out.
drop all of them on Hulu, but they're airing them week to week on FX proper.
Okay, got it. So in Canada, because FX, I only got the first 3. So yeah. Amanda, you watched the first episode of this?
I did watch the first episode of season 2. I also really enjoyed season 1, and my feeling coming away from watching the season 2 premiere was that it's back in all of its glory. Like I felt like it's still very sharp, very edgy, very joke dense. Like the first episode gets into like a school play and they're going to do Angels in America, but then they decide to do COVID in America. And it's like, I do feel like this show is a little bit of it's a step ahead of some of the other sitcoms that it is contemporary with. And, I have famously said that, we know what comedies are, and that we need to make space to appreciate traditional sitcoms. And I love Abbott Elementary. I've been enjoying The Paper. There've been a handful of other sitcoms that are in that kind of like traditional sitcom vein. But English Teacher is just a little bit sharper, a little bit edgier, a little bit more timely than I think its contemporaries. I think it's sort of doing it as good as I feel like it's at the top of the game right now. And like all of the complicated feelings we have about whatever's going on behind the scenes, I think that what's making it to the screen is excellent.
Ira, you watched some of this?
I watched, the first 2 episodes. I came into it blind as far as like what what the critics were saying, how the reviews were, and I really enjoyed season 1. And I was really sad to feel the way I'm feeling, which is I didn't really like it. I thought that I thought that it felt very similar to season 1, except I wasn't laughing, and it didn't feel as like fresh in the way like season 1 just really felt like a breath of fresh air. It's shocking, it's funny, it's so ridiculous. I agree with you overall, Amanda. Even in like the 2 episodes I saw, I do think it's I guess just for me, I'll say trying to do something different and like succeeding on like building this world of like ridiculousness. I just think the rapport, it felt a little tired, the rapport, especially between him and like the students. Like I just wanted it wasn't that I wanted something different. It was that I wanted it to feel like a season 2 and not just more of season 1. Then I looked up, so then I watched it. I'm like, oh no, and like, I'm curious what people think. I'll check out the reviews, and the 3 reviews I found, the first one all said some version of it's doing the same thing, and that's a good thing. Like it's continuing to do the same. So it kind of made me feel a little bit better that even though other people are enjoying it, there is some commonality of like it doesn't feel super fresh, and not that it needs to. It's a sitcom. Like it doesn't need to reinvent the wheel. I was just I was a little disappointed because I love to laugh, and I didn't really.
Well, I think it's interesting because this is a show that, like, I think in another era has like 22 episodes in a season and is like drawing everything out, and yet this is not. This is like a 10 episode season, and it's also
Right.
coming back. I mean, so there's like two things that in some ways is very new, and in some ways seems very old in the sense of like it is a more traditional style of like it's not, you know, the like comedies that are, you know, Hacks and The Bear, I think are the best example of these, you know, and again, you know, whatever, The Bear, we know what a comedy is. I know, Amanda, but like,
and it's like smart the way like the font when the thing they're using all this like nostalgic music for us older people. Like I do love a lot of the vibes still, and that's like
the vibes
that's there still. Yeah, I just felt like the comedy, I was like, I can see it, I can see the lines, I can see the seams, and I'm like not laughing. I don't know, I'm bummed. I'm not happy to like report that.
Yeah, I do. What's interesting is episode 1 and 2 are school centric. Episode 3 is outside of the school as well. So I'm interested to see like maybe if you you don't have to keep with it, but if you jive with it, it's a dinner party at the principal's house. I do. That. Yeah, I chatted with Stephanie Koenig, who's Gwen in the show, and also is a writer and wrote episode 3. And I feel like the thing that she said about their like philosophy or worldview on it, because I asked like, do you have a worldview of the show, or are you just, you know, saying funny things? So she's like, no, I do think like we try to say the funniest thing, but we also try to be true. And that's, I feel like that really for me is there's often ways in which like younger people are talked about that is often feels it's funny but not true, or it's true but not funny. And I do feel like English Teacher does both of those things with like it's because like this is a show made by like essentially, you know, I presume Brian Jordan is a millennial, you know, and so he's not, but there is something that I think has tapped into what it's, you know, and maybe it's wrong. I also said this a lot, like maybe if like you know, someone who's younger than me watches is like, that's not accurate. To me, it feels very accurate, but also I'm like exactly the age of Brian Jordan Alvarez. So, you know, there's probably something to that, but I did enjoy it. I do like it. I think,
and in fairness, I should say this. Did I laugh? No. But was I enjoying my time with these characters? I was like, oh, this is fun. But I just didn't get the,
Ariel, you might need to do some soul searching though. Maybe this is
what's wrong with me? It's really, I should hold up a mirror. That's what the show does.
In the first episode of the season, I don't know if this actor continues through the other episodes, but he was also a guest actor in the other 2. He was one of the Instagram gays who used to be fat, but now he has 2 nieces.
Is he the one who's like part of the friend group from season 1, and that he's in the first is he the like guy who slept over?
Yes, he's the guy.
I think he's so funny.
He's so funny. Everything he says is so funny. Yeah, I thought I definitely lolled.
Me too. All right, let's talk about something we also all watched, which is I believe we all watched, I don't know how many episodes, but some of House of Guinness, which is the Netflix show about the, you know, the Guinness, the family who created the Guinness empire. What's going to happen
like
in sort of
Irish Succession.
I keep trying to avoid Succession, but it is about the succession of the death of sort of the elder statesman and what will happen. There's 4 children. Amanda, what'd you think of House of Guinness?
So House of Guinness is like one of these Netflix period pieces that I probably wouldn't under normal circumstances check out. But like so this is directed and created by Stephen Knight, who also did Pinky Blinders and has a bunch of credits to his name.
1,000 Blows recently he did last year. He's worked a lot, I think, with Stephen Graham as well. So yeah, he's I believe he's writing the next James Bond film, the Denis Villeneuve Bond film. So like kind of prolific writer, and he's doing like a very, you know, Irish centric story here with House of Guinness.
Right. So this like gives you all of that kind of elaborate period piece vibes if you enjoy that kind of thing. It's like one of those period pieces where like they put in like really modern music, and it's got like an edginess to it while it's still like quite stuffy and period for people who like that sort of thing. I like am so fascinated with Irish history ever since I went on a trip to Ireland recently, and it's really kind of captured my imagination. So I was really excited to sort of dig in to how this like family drama succession battle is going to interface with all of like the fascinating things that were going on at the time with Ireland's relationship with England and the Catholics versus the Protestants and all of that really, really interesting stuff. So I think that this is like for people who enjoy watching The Gilded Age or The Crown or Downton Abbey or any of those period pieces where you can really get wrapped up in the setting and there's like, you know, the scandal and the intrigue and like you know, it's like it's got all of that fun stuff. So it's like to me it felt like a trashy fun watch, but with the nice little like extracurricular, you can learn a little bit about Irish history at the same time.
Ariel, you watched some of House of Guinness?
I did, yeah. I watched the first episode. I am a fan of Anthony Boyle, who plays the eldest son here, known from Masters of the Air, the Apple TV series, and then more recently, whatchamacallit,
Say Nothing, right?
Say Nothing,
Yeah,
yes. Speaking of, which he was fantastic in and was a really good later on in history, in Irish history, from where this series takes place. I will agree with Amanda about the trashy part. You know, literally at one point at the beginning, we're getting like hops, barley. Like, okay, they're giving us a recipe of Guinness, and it's like money, power, rebellion. I'm like, oh no, this is bad. The music is cool. Like, it has, what's the right word? It has swagger. Like, I appreciated that it has swagger, and I think Anthony Boyle, of course, always a smile across my face to see him. But I think James Norton is really good in this. He's like the one that I actually enjoy watching. In just the one episode I saw, I think the writing is not that great. I think it looks cool. The music is good. It looks expensive. It's interesting. It's fast moving. But then I'm like LOLing at some of the things they're saying, and I'm not. I don't think I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, I watched the first episode of this. I do feel like it definitely gives me Peaky Blinders vibes. Like, I do think with like it's a little more poppy, I guess, is like the best way to put it. I mean, the other thing I feel like we didn't mention in terms of what Stephen Knight has done is he wrote both Spencer and Maria, so like the latest two movies in the Pablo Larraín sort of like women in history trilogies as well. He's such a pedigree. Yeah, I honestly think that like the problem for me with House of Guinness is that there was so much TV on this week. There was so much good TV that I think that like this just kind of suffered from what else it was up against, because otherwise I feel like I definitely would have watched more. I just felt like I was like, oh, I could go watch another episode of The Lowdown, or, you know, Slow Horses came out of Wayward. Like there was just so much to watch this week. And so like, this is good. It's just not like the best thing. It's just not the best thing this week.
Yeah, I feel like if you love like Irish history and you love this kind of period piece, this will probably scratch those itches. I do want to say, like, there was part of me that was like, Stephen Knight, an Englishman telling this Irish story. How dare you? Where do you get off?
He loves Guinness.
Loves Guinness.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's a very it's tainted in all British influences.
Decolonize the Irish story.
Right.
Let them tell their own story.
Okay, that's probably House of Guinness. Okay, Amanda, you watched some of Wayward, which is the Mae Martin sort of troubled teen industry thriller that dropped its whole season on Netflix. I like this quite a bit. Again, I think it like struggles because there's so much else that's really good. And I don't think this is amazing, but I think it's pretty fun. I think Toni Collette is really fun in this.
You buried the lead on that one, Grace. That was Toni Collette.
Toni Collette is sort of
for me when you were telling me about it. I mean,
yeah, I know. I said Mae Martin.
Well, Mae Martin. This is created by showrunner, starring Mae Martin, which is like that's such a triumph. That's like pretty. That's pretty badass. Yeah, I mean, look, Toni Collette is such a queen. I mean, like the way that she just takes any role and elevates it and is just the most fascinating thing to watch. I mean, that's excellent. I'm really, so I only watched the first episode, but this was one that I would have kept on watching if I didn't have so many assignments this week and like needed sleep and all of that. Sure. So I want to keep on watching this. Like, the topic of this is these kind of reform schools where like kids were abducted in the night and taken away, and they go to these like these disciplinary schools with these euphemistic names like the Tall Pines or the Serene Mountains or whatever. And these are obviously like, this is a real thing, this kind of school. Like I knew a couple kids who went to schools like this, and it takes place like in the early aughts. So it's like the vibes of this in terms of like the period that it is set in and the music and the characters, like I think all of that resonated with me because it harkens back to my tender youth. And I thought that it sets up a lot of intrigue. Like there's a mystery that I'm hooked on. Like I said, Toni Collette plays the sort of the
dean or like the head of
the head of the
principal.
school, whatever it is. And it's a little bit cult leadery-ish. Like, what is she hiding?
Well, I think there's two. There's one is like, I think that, and actually May talked about this of like, in terms of what the idea for the show was like troubled teens being sent away to school. And then what sort of unlocked the show for them was adding this extra element of like, what if the town that you like, that were like that place is over there? What if you slowly start to realize that like the people in the adults in the town have clearly like went to that school and now live in that town, so like you can start to see the way in which like her partner or his partner, sorry, or like the people who work at the store, like there's all of these you're like everyone's just cool with what's happening, and like that sort of thriller aspect to it. I think it's fun. It's a good Halloween-y show.
It's fun. It's a thriller. Like I'm excited to watch it. I do think it was like propulsive. I wanted to go on to the next episode. I had some little like beefs about how, it's supposed to be set in the early aughts, but the teens sort of talk like teens today do. Like they said some things that like they weren't slang back then. And so I feel
they
like
made their choice.
I feel like it's not a meticulously crafted, like perfect, but in terms of like a Netflix binge, this seems like a super fun thing to watch on a weekend.
So Lindsay Wilson, good friend of mine, was talking about how has been too scared to watch the show, but because Mae Martin had a show, was like, oh, maybe I should watch Feel Good, which is their first Netflix show. Feel Good is amazing. If people haven't watched Feel Good, I think it's 2 seasons. Lisa Kudrow is in it, so Mae just keeps finding like just these absolute incredible women to like be in their cast. Feel Good is a more like personal autobiographical story of like figuring out identity and addiction and things like that and being in a relationship. And it's very, very good. I highly recommend it if you're not going to check out Wayward. Ariel, you watched a bit of Slow Horses. Is this right?
Yeah, I had been slow horsing my way through Slow Horses for a long time. And I took I had, been coming off like a lot of us, it's just a slow TV time. And I wasn't really interested in some of the stuff. Sometimes when I get like, I don't know, moody about TV, I'm like, oh, I want to binge, like something I can like watch, a lot of sink my teeth into. And I watched, I finished season 2 of Slow Horses, then 3, then 4, and now watched the premiere of 5. I'm just happy. I'm like, it's so fun. I'm so happy when I'm watching this show. I think 5 seasons in, it's still, I mean, it helps that they do the 6 episodes a year. I think that's smart. It helps keep the show fresh and good and contained. And the way, like, I think coming out of what was probably, for me at least, like the best stretch of episodes they've ever done, like the last few of season 4, coming into season 5, I'm like, okay, how are they going to set up this new mystery? What's it going to be about? Each season is always based on a book. So, like, what is this book about? Spycraft, MI5, not about space, Amanda. And I was really happy. I mean, it's a classic cliffhanger end of episode. It's just the first episode, and I'm worried, I'm upset, and I love these people, and I'm so happy that it's back, and now I'm watching live.
That's what I did hear some debate about whether people want more of like to get to know every character and their backstory. And so season 4 is definitely like a River, like intense, like, here's everything going on in his life. And some people were like, oh, I actually don't want that. I know this season is supposed to be like a big Roddy centered. I'm not really a big fan of Roddy, so we'll see.
He has such unproblematic views. What do you mean?
That's a guy who would want to date Tilly Norwood.
Oh yeah, he's already probably talked to Tilly Norwood and tried to slide into her DMs.
But I love Slow. I think that like I just thought like the opening scene of the show was just so well done. I hate it and I love it. I think it's incredibly unnerving what happens that like inciting incident for the rest of this season. I think like Jackson Lamb, like Gary Oldman, is just like one of the most fascinating television characters, book characters. I've been reading some of the books as well. I really love Slow Horses. I love that it comes out every year. It's already basically filmed season 6 and season 7 got renewed. So this is a show that's just gonna keep, you know what, Amanda, they do at the end of every season, they do a sizzle reel for the next season where they
oh my god, they are
on.
wow. They're like just always making it.
That's how on schedule they are. The show just like keeps coming out. It's 6 episodes. Imagine. The cast is phenomenal.
What should we call this? Is this like television? Is that what this is?
That's how television works. Shout out Jack Loudon. I mean,
I love Jack Loudon.
Just looking at him is just its own. It's the slowest horse I would like. Just go by as slow as possible.
What's the slow horse? Like
okay, let me okay. So the book series actually called, the first book I believe is called Sources, but it's the Slough House series. And this is a classic thing where like, like they mix up which one is the novel name and which one is the show. So they just call the show Slow Horses. But the premise is that Jackson Lamb, who's like this like old, disgusting, like he farts a lot. He's gross. He doesn't take care of himself.
Gary Oldman.
That's played by Gary Oldman. He runs Slough House, which is essentially like if you have been like, for some reason, you're not allowed to basically kind of like be an MI5 or MI6 anymore. Like you have a gambling addiction or you messed up like big time or whatever, you get sent to Slough House. So it's like not like we're gonna fire you, but we're gonna send you to the minor leagues.
It's where we put the slow horses.
It's where we put
or we like put the problematic people that we need to get rid of.
And then, because it's a television show, that's the place where like they often end up getting, because there's less supervision on them, there's less eyes on them, they can kind of do what they want. They obviously end up getting embroiled in like actually the biggest case that would ever like make headlines in London. That's sort of the shtick. And then there's a lot of like, I think with Jackson Lamb, like why is he, because he's like seemingly a really like capable person. So why is he like disheveled and disgruntled and like doesn't bathe and whatever, and like there's so much into that. I just think he's like a fascinating character,
and he's just such a piece of shit to his team.
He's such a piece of shit.
Like he's such a jerk. He's the worst boss. He's not at all supportive. He's always sometimes
he'll be like
things.
Little carrot, a
little bit. And and in private moments you do see kind of how he actually is, but
and that's a big difference in the book because it's his internal narration. Like he actually isn't as nice in the books, but because in the show they kind of need a way to be like,
you kind of need it.
Like,
yeah.
So I don't know. I just think it's great. It's very like spy, British thriller type thing, but I think it like there is just this is a show that's been nominated and won a bunch of like writing Emmys. I do think like the writing is super sharp. It's just very good. It's funny because it's like it's gonna go on to 7 seasons, but it doesn't feel excessive in a way. Like it, and in terms of the thing even you were talking about earlier, Ariel, about like it being different, but the like English teacher, like the difference, like how different should you be versus how much should be the same. I feel like this is a show that like is perfectly on the trajectory of like there is character evolution and people are in different situations and people get written off the show and people join the show, but it just feels like I can imagine it was a very enjoyable, just like mega binge watch that you did.
It was. I mean, and it's funny in like all kinds of unexpected ways. I think that's like one of the things that sets it apart, certainly from like other spy craft stories that like people kind of have in their mind if they haven't checked it out. And shout out Kristen Scott Thomas, who is incredible. Always, but certainly in this role, it's just fun, and every year they get to do a different story, so like that's good on them from the books. I'm excited to continue.
Yes. Okay, let's it was a really big week for television, but it was also a big movie going week, Ariel. Sorry, Amanda. Sorry to
I'm like, this is where I go on mute and check my email or something.
Where she flies out to space.
One of the most highly anticipated movies, definitely of 2025, had tremendous, as people started to see it, we're like, this is incredible. It's a masterpiece. I was a little worried. I did go to see One Battle After Another this weekend. I know you've seen it as well. Talk to me about we got a new PTA movie, Ariel.
PTA, not the Parents
Teacher Association. Now that I know about.
Or the PTC, the Parents
Right.
Television Council. It's Paul Thomas Anderson, Leonardo DiCaprio, Sean Penn.
I
Benicio
actually
del
want to
Toro.
see this. I do want to see
Amanda,
this.
I think you will love it. So,
Really? You think I'll
yes,
love it? Oh
yes.
my gosh.
She's like, me specifically? Oh my God, I feel so seen.
Yes, I think you will love this movie. It's long is the only thing. Like, you got to carve out like 3 hours. That's just the movie.
Amanda, it's a longie. It's a longie. It's a 242.
Bring a snack. Yeah.
Bring several. You need courses. You need courses of snacks. Okay, I'm just saying. As someone who like needs a snack, especially if you're gonna like a stay awake situation, sometimes it's precarious. You need like snacks that you can continue to deploy at certain times. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed this movie. I was worried. I think similar to you. I think what you were gonna say something about Grace was like the expectation, the hype. It's, I already got like slightly burnt on Weapons earlier this year. Selfishly, myself, a movie I did enjoy, but like the hype was just insurmountable, frankly, for the movie. By the time I got around to seeing it, I love that this movie feels, for as long as it feels very propulsive. It does not, in some ways, it feels so epic in its scope and the length, but like it's not something where I'm checking my watch and I'm like, oh God, it's still going on.
This movie never settles is the thing that I kept saying.
Yes, and the title, exactly, and that's why the title is so apt.
Yeah.
Because it's one battle after another, it's one plot point after another. We get some moving around in time. It's just it's very kinetic. It's very kinetic. And I actually, when it was done, I could have sworn there was another like half an hour left in the movie.
Oh wow. More named female characters than I'm used to seeing in a Paul Thomas Anderson movie.
And with wild names, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, shame on me and for IMDb, frankly, for voting, if you will, just the writers and stars that are male. But shout out Regina Hall, Tiana Taylor, Alana Haim has a PTA contributor, has a cameo a couple of times. It's balanced, it's hilarious, it's disturbing, it's kind of messed up, it's very violent. I think it has a lot to say about the current state of America and politics and being revolutionaries and what that would mean in a country like this.
Yeah.
What do you think, Grace, as a Canadian?
Yeah, I am starting to see a little bit of like the wave of like right-wing people who've seen and like their reactions to it, mostly from like people like making fun of those people. But like this movie is like extremely political in the way that like I kind of knew that, and then coming out of it, I kind of was like, oh, I'm surprised actually. Like my feed was entirely in the sense of my bubble or whatever, but like was so positive about this movie, and I wasn't seeing. I saw a little bit. There's been some like I think like that first wave of like what I would call like genuine criticism versus like the like oh, you're politicizing this thing, like, oh, how dare you, whatever. Right. But I do think this movie is quite incredible, and this is a movie that like coming out of it, I wasn't sure whether I like, when I was like thinking about what to rate on Letterboxd or whatever, which was like, do I give it a 4.5 or do I give it a 5? And the more I just like was walking, I walked with some friends, and I like was gonna like take the streetcar, and I just like kept sort of walking and just like thinking about the movie until I was just like, oh shoot, I should probably get on. And I feel like the more I thought about it, the more I think it's better. I think it's 5 stars. I think Sinners is probably still my favorite movie of the year, but there's just something about this movie, and again, it's that like unsettled thing of the movie where it's just like every time you think you're gonna sort of like ease into the scene or the moment, it like something shifts, and that sometimes is like a huge, and actually honestly it always feels like it's like something big and dramatic. I think it's like kind of like the trick of the movie, that it's like this like this thing either gets like inserted in or reinserted or brought back. It's like I think the performances, especially from like Tiana Taylor and Chance Infinity, who that's her debut role, who plays Leo's daughter, she's just like so incredible. The cinematography of this movie, like I think it has a chance to win a bunch of stuff that's like not just the acting and directing and maybe best picture. Like there's just the camera work and the way and what is happening in the movie just always feels like it's alive. People will like, I think, already endlessly talking about the road Ariel of the movie. Like I feel like that's already become like a thing, and it's like
they'll memify it somehow.
Yeah, I mean, I think it already kind of has been. But I just and then I think most importantly though is like the story that is being told is just like I think it's extremely good, and I am so glad. I think this movie movies come out at a certain time and evoke something like this is speaking to something about America right now that I think is really impactful and really sort of in tune. I think Eddington too is a movie that like I think people sort of like misunderstood that movie, but I think that movie is like pretty smart about specifically what happened during COVID. This feels like this is about like what is happening right now at this very moment.
Super interesting, because just as I'm looking at the Wikipedia page listening to you talk about this, I'm realizing that I didn't know this, but this film is based on Vineland by Thomas Pynchon, who's one of my favorite novelists. And
I was going to mention that when the names of the characters, because there's so many Pynchon like style the names in this, but it's based on Vineland.
Yeah, which came out in 1990. So very interesting that it's like speaking particularly to this moment in time. And I'm also seeing that the music is by Johnny Greenwood. So this is very much this could get me out to a movie theater.
The music is the score is so good. It's just this like driving force behind that's sort of moving everything along. I am remiss to say I do think like Leo is very good in this, but I do think Benicio del Toro is so good.
Benicio del Toro is so brilliant all the time.
And then Sean Penn is the perform it is a thing, Ariel. Like I'm just like struggling to describe it, but he is really good in it. And you hate him. You hate him so much.
Wow.
Sean Penn, right?
Yeah, Sean Penn.
This cast plus Thomas Pynchon plus Johnny Greenwald, it's just zoop right back to the 90s. Like, this is amazing. This is for me.
I think you're gonna love it. I mean, again, I do think you would love this movie. I think it is saying so. I mean, there's it had an A+ cinema score, which means that like that is a thing that's sort of like capturing whether or not like the feeling going into a movie.
The A is for Amanda.
The A is for Amanda. That's
plus,
right.
Amanda Plus. It's your streaming service.
Well, it didn't get an A+, unfortunately. It just got an A. But there's a thing where that is the thing of like, did this movie sort of meet your? That's not like was the movie. It's like, did the movie match what you thought it would be going into it? And the fact that this movie in particular, I think that is like, did get an A. I think does actually say
like
something about this movie.
It's like a Peabody Award, Ariel. It's like compared to itself.
That's all I asked for. It's only fair. No, but I'm so glad you shouted out Cynthia, the actress, right, who plays the daughter.
Chase Infinity.
And also, thank you.
Do you know her last name is literally named after Toy Story? It's To Infinity and Beyond. I'm pretty sure that's
so sweet.
It's obviously a pseudonym, but
she lived up to her name because she traveled to infinity. Amanda, her scenes were basically almost exclusively with either Leonardo DiCaprio or Sean Penn.
Yes,
and I think that she's like so for a first-time actress to like be on that level and be not just the completely disappear, not be at all a distraction or distracting at all, and being like an emotional force in her scenes, I think is like incredibly impressive. And I'm happy. I'm happy that she was discovered to infinity and
we discovered her. We discovered.
Yeah, this was a movie role, but she was in
Presumed Innocent.
Yeah,
we've already covered her work.
Wow. See, that's how you know I'm from the future, because sometimes I forget about the past.
My favorite thing is I interviewed Tony Goldwyn earlier this year for his work in Hacks. And he told me, I was talking about how he is a big jerk in that show, and he's the bad guy, and he's finally like,
have I got the role for you if you're looking for
I
a
asked
jerk?
I asked him about that, about like, did he model this off of anybody? And he's like, I try not to see my characters as villains. Very funny if you know what he plays in this movie.
Right.
Think about the fact that he, I mean, I presume he had shot it at that time to not think of his characters as
no,
villains.
for sure.
I am completely not trying to implicate Tony Gold in anything, but his character is big evil
Wow.
in this movie. Yeah. I loved it. One battle after. I think I'm going to try to carve out time to see it again. Or I don't know, but if you feel like
Yeah, I do want to catch it in IMAX. I had to rush and see it at a normie theater.
Wow, you had to slum it.
But I had to slum it, honestly. I was like, where's the screen? And then I looked, I was like, oh, that's the screen. I thought that was the wall.
I did see it in IMAX, and I'm like, should I just go watch it again at a or should
Just
I try to
one
get
IMAX,
back
just
to
one IMAX after another? The screenings, the IMAX screenings are completely packed, like even from 8 in the morning.
Yeah.
I don't even have 8 in the morning.
Your battle is seeing movies. That's your battle.
My battle is going to bed early enough to get up early enough to go to the AM movie because that's my happy place.
Yep. Okay, so those are the new stuff from this week. Let's talk a little bit about if anybody's keeping up with anything. I know, Amanda, you've been watching Task.
I have been watching Task. I have to represent the greater Philadelphia region and watch all of the shows. Yeah, so I'm watching Task, and we just had the 4th episode air on Sunday, All Roads. And yeah, so this is I know that you've already talked about this, Grace, and you got the opportunity to talk to a bunch of performers and creators involved in this. But this is the official and spiritual successor to Mayor of Easttown, in that it's like broadly in the Delaware County area, and it's like a crime drama where people speak in the suburban Philadelphia accents, which blow everybody's minds. And I have been like really, really enjoying it. It's starring, Mark Ruffalo as the priest turned FBI agent, and his foil here is Tom Pelfrey, who plays Robbie Prendergast, who's like kind of like a hapless villain, or like he's, the bad guy, but like, you sort of root for him too. And it's not a whodunit as much as it's a how catch 'em, so that you kind of can't spoil it. But it really is like the sort of structure of this is we have these two flawed but relatable everyman type characters who are kind of cat and mouse pitched against each other in Mark Ruffalo and Tom Pelfrey.
The way that when I talked to Brennan, I said I feel like the essence of the show seems to be like I want them both to get away with it, and they can't get get away with it or like solve the case, and that can't happen. And Brad was like, "Yes, that's it. That's the idea." And I feel like that sort of like solidified it. If like,
it's such a smart question, Grace.
You have, I know, so
I know you did such a good job.
You have Tom trying to catch the bad guy, and then you have the bad guy Robbie trying to get away with it, and you can't. You like they're clearly on a collision course to like one of them has to fail at this thing, and you're kind of like that's a bummer because in the way that there's almost like two
main character. You're watching two shows. Yeah. Like the experience of it is like very much when you're with one of them and their point of view. It's like totally clear that that's the guy that you're rooting for. And then you're like, but wait, this other guy is trying to do another thing. So I've been really enjoying it. I think at the beginning I was thinking, is this better than Mayor of Easttown, which obviously like made a really, really big splash with Kate Winslet's great performance. I was really disappointed with the end of Mayor of Easttown. I felt
really?
I felt like it didn't stick the landing big time. I'll tell you off air, Ariel, what happened.
Thank you.
And then, and I'm a little bit worried that I might end up feeling the same way about this. Like, so this is a 7
the letdown. I'm so nervous now.
This is a 7-episode series, and we just finished episode 4. So Ariel, we're more
than 50%.
Yeah, we are. We're more.
Do you think there's enough percent left that they can still stick the landing?
That's a really big question, isn't it? Because I think that this is a point in a thriller crime drama series. It's a little bit of a lull. It tends to be a lull.
The bloat.
This is like a hard portion of the story usually to get through because it's you can't kind of keep up a momentum when you have so many episodes left. And so we sort of I felt like this was a little bit of a treading water episode, even though it did have some super, super lovely moments. But they've been like inserting these kind of like mysteries along the way, because we know who did the thing that the FBI is trying to figure out. We already know that. So that's not the mystery to the audience. But there's these other things that the audience doesn't know. Like, for example, you know, is somebody feeding information, or how is this involved, or how are these?
There was talk of a mole at one point.
Yeah. So there's these other like machinations that they're resolving along the way. And like, we sort of got our hat tipped on what the answer to one of them was. And I'm like, this is like a really unsatisfying way to do this. And I think that was my big problem with Mayor of Easttown, was like, ultimately the solution was something that had like the least consequences given the characters that we had gotten to know to that point. So like, I'm a little bit worried that while I think this creator, Brad Inglesby, like does some things exceptionally well, for example, filming in locations that I personally recognize, love that.
He told me he did that for you.
He did. Yeah. Well,
that gets
now
you at
I
least
feel
3
bad.
stars out
Now
of 5.
I feel bad criticizing him.
No.
No, but I like, you know, I think he captures the sense of place. I think that there's something really, really interesting that he portrays about like using the place to also tell a story about it's how something can be beautiful but also dark, and be like seem to have everything you need but also be economically depressed. And like it's like it like the location seems to have kind of everything and nothing at once. And there's like a way that there's something much more sinister happening under a place with a lot of natural beauty. And I think that tells a story of like the internal life of some of these characters. I think there's all of these wonderful moments, but I wonder if the whole structure of this like crime mystery, like I wonder if if there might be a couple of shortcuts or a couple of kind of awkward sideways. Like this episode felt like a little bit like it leaned on a handful of cliches in a way that was less fresh and exciting to me. So I'm enjoying it. I'm definitely going to make it to the end, but I'm like having some reservations about having total confidence that this show is going to stick the landing.
Yeah, I'll be interested to hear what you think after episode 5, because I do think so. It's the upcoming episode. I do think that's the best episode, but I also thought that was going. When I was like, oh, that is the finale, and it's not. There's 7 episodes, so I'm intrigued by, you know, in terms of you're talking about like the pacing of it, because I think you're onto something in terms of like I've seen the rest of this, that they're like the pacing is a little weird. I was chatting with some people in when I was at the film festival, and was weird. They had
Ariel,
watched it as
take
well.
a drink.
I know. I didn't actually name it. I just said film festival.
You know, just unnamed film. I went to a school in Boston.
I have a friend. Her name is Tiffany.
Yes. And he's like, isn't it weird how many episodes? I was like, yeah, yeah. So the thing I think that resonates with me based on what you said is I do think the thing that this show that the Inglesby specifically does maybe better than anybody is like every character in the show, I think, to some degree, is like, yeah, some of them I think can fit cliches, but I guess I'm biased by the fact that I talked with them all and was like asking about the character. I do feel like he has such a sense of like who these characters are and what they're going through. It maybe more so that he can always figure out how to like map that into the story. Like he says the idea for the show came from the idea of like seeing trash collectors and being like, isn't it interesting that they like have so much information about, or like could have so much information about your life, you know? And I was like, oh, that is such an interesting idea. That's not a story, you know, like that's the beginning of a story. And I do think like for me, the thing in the show, there's 2 characters in the show that I feel like I am liking Mark Ruffalo, but I do think Tom Pelphrey and Amelia Jones are just like absolutely knocking it out of the park.
Yeah, no,
Maeve
is amazing. Like that is like, this is the character who plays, Robbie Pendergrass's niece, who's also kind of like takes care of the whole family. And yeah, she's incredible.
Yeah, and I think that like there is something about those 2 performances in particular, just how like rich and, you know, this Maeve being a character, and you know, I was talking to her about some of the choices that she made with Brad about the character, and like, you know, because she has so little control over her life, that's why she has like, you know, the mullet and like the tattoo is like she's like looking for these other places. She actually also said she like lived in Delco for 5 weeks and went to dive bars and like hung out, which I thought was like incredible
She
commitment to
nailed
figure it
the
out.
accent.
She
because
does nail the accent.
She's British. Like, no, she
There's
does
a
an
lot of
amazing-
Brits and Irish people in this show.
I know.
Amanda's always talking about this. She's like, "What about preserving the real accents
the
of this,
real
Pennsylvania
culture.
region?"
Yeah. Anyway, I'm kind of in line with you. I think that there are some really stellar episodes of the show. Again, I think 5 is really, really good. I do think like maybe inconsistent is the best way to put Task, but I do think it's like a really good show. And I do think we've been in a slump of TV. And so like, I know there's a lot of good TV we just talked about, but I still do think Task is probably one of the best shows I watched of the year. Especially like the last few months, especially.
Yeah. It's filling the Sunday night slot. It's carrying. It's doing it.
Yes.
Thank you, Task.
I also did watch the Alien Earth finale, which I think I'm higher on it than most people. I think most people are a little down on it. I do think that
too much Earth.
But yes, too much Earth. I do think
more Earth.
Yeah, more
Stay
Earth,
home
please.
with your family.
Stay home. I do think that this is a show that definitely does seem like, I know it hasn't been renewed, but I do think it's a show that's probably coming back. And I feel like there's a lot
there's no
of
way it's not.
I think that there's a lot of like work done here to set up the season. I do think Noah Hawley is probably a person who there are maybe too many good ideas in this show is a thing I keep I've heard some people say, and I maybe agree with
it was a thing. It was a thing for sure with Legion.
Right. Yeah. And so like maybe in some ways you're like, oh, like that's such a good idea and I want the show on that, but then like also we're doing that. And so then I'm not getting enough of the two good ideas. I'm like, I'm getting half-baked good ideas. I don't know. I didn't really see it I'm just like sort of along I think the Peter Pan analogy is maybe like not fully baked a little bit, but it's fine. I really like it. I love the setup for if a season 2 is to come. Did you watch how much have you watched, Ariel? Have you watched
the first 15 minutes? But can I ask a Timothy Oliphant question?
He's great in it. Yes.
Yeah. How is Timothy Oliphant? That's my question.
Yeah, he's great. I mean, and also just like if anybody's been watching the press he's been doing, man, I just want to hang out with Timothy Oliphant.
He's so fun. He's so fun. That's what I want to know. He's having so much fun. I just want him to have all good things.
There was a little bit of, I think, people thinking that he was going to be doing a thing and then that didn't end up being true. And people, I think, are a little mad that it didn't end up being true. Like, I think that there was some like, oh, what's he actually up to? And then it's like, he's not actually up to anything.
He's not really even an alien. Wow.
I
thought he was a xenomorph. He was giving big xenomorph energy.
No, it's what's funny is that like I feel like the only thing about this is that like I wish he was a little more charming because he's very much like a stoic like robot,
Oh, but like bring out the real Timothy.
Kind of, but still fun.
Wow.
Still fun in the show. Yep.
All right.
Anything else that the two of you are watching or have watched that you want to touch on before we move on to what's coming up next?
I did watch and this is like honestly more so noteworthy because it happened at all, because I'm not really like a Disney Plus Marvel person.
Because you canceled your subscription.
I can't. Sure, yeah, I canceled my subscription. I
you heard it. You heard it here, everyone.
When you get it for free, you're like, we're sticking it to them by not paying for it. When you get it for free, they're giving me the stuff, and I'm not giving them anything. So I'm doing my part, as the meme says. I watched Marvel Zombies. I'm a simple person. Sometimes I want to watch people run away from zombies. Like it scratches the itch if you're at all like a zombie person. It's basically a spin-off / fleshed out 4-episode series based on very fleshy, based on the What If episode that they did that was just about zombies. It's fun. I cried. I can't remember a lot of things that happened. I watched all 4 at once.
You're crying and I'm laughing.
Florence Pugh.
Tag yourself.
Which one are you? People like real big names are doing voices. Simu Liu, Aquafina. I was kind of impressed, honestly.
Villani, Haley Steinfeld, Carrie Condon is voicing.
Yeah, so wild. If you care at all about zombies, I can recommend it. It is animated. I don't know. I feel like most people don't care. I was shocked I was watching it, but I was surprised and I enjoyed it.
This is gonna sound like a silly question, but like, what is it? It's just like what if the Marvel?
So what if
all the Marvel
series that they do?
No, I know that.
Yeah. Sit down. Okay, sorry. So yeah, they literally had an episode. It was so popular, I guess, on socials, on the thing, and then they were like, "Let's make a full series of just that one episode." So they just continued the story that happened in that one episode. Because on What If, Amanda, every episode is just what if this happened, and then it lives. It's just like a self-contained thing. And yeah, it's literally just zombies. You don't have to do a lot of homework. You just have to have emotional connections to some of these characters, and it's fun. I don't
Okay.
know. If you like zombies and you like running, I can recommend it.
Okay, great. Oh, running. Interesting.
Your mileage may vary depending on your pace.
I'll watch. I mean, it's the perfect time of year for this to come out, so I'll watch it. at some
Yeah, if
point.
anything, like why not like closer
True.
to actually I feel like a little early it was released. Maybe
that's
unless
true.
they're planning some big Halloween push after this.
Could be.
I'm almost done with the paper, Grace.
I love the paper.
Yeah.
I think it is capturing something about The Office while not being The Office. I think it's very funny. I can't stop thinking about that joke in the first episode where she sends the email that he hasn't been Me Too'd. And I think that to me is like the best example of like
Yeah.
that's so funny and such a like awkward. I just think it's great. I feel like I'm very happy that the paper.
Yeah. I've been really enjoying it, and it did like sneak up on me because I do feel like I came in with my guard up a little bit, especially like, and I have to say, I've said this to Ariel, the commercials that like have all of the Office cast, like
Right.
that break, like it's so corny and manipulative and like lazily done. And I was worried that that was going to be in the show that's like capitalizing on the Office nostalgia, and Oscar is there and all of that.
The Oscar stuff is also very.
It's
I think
good.
It's good.
It's
very
good.
funny.
It's got me, and it's been fun. It's been enjoyable. It's been like it has that easy, comforting watch quality that The
Yes.
Office has.
Yes.
I did compare it to The English Teacher because I do think that English Teacher is like a little bit edgier and a little more current. And this is, very familiar for all of the obvious reasons. But yeah, Sabrina Impacciatore
So good.
is a revelation. I mean, she's like one of the funniest actresses, period. She's
Yes.
great. Her character's so funny. And I've just been like, I've been enjoying all of it. Like, I only have one episode left, and I totally would have finished it if I wasn't watching the Lowdown and English Teacher and Wayward
Thank
and
you
House
for
of
your
Guinness.
work. Mhm.
No, but it's been great. I'm glad I still have that. Like, that's going to be my little treat tonight, is to finish my last episode of the paper. But this has been, it's really good. I'm glad it's exists, and I hope. Do we know anything about whether they're going to do a season 2?
Did I remember that it got renewed? And but maybe I'm wrong about that, and it actually hasn't been.
It sounds like it passed the Amanda comedy test.
It is renewed. It's renewed for a second season.
It got renewed right before they they were like, we're binge dropping it, and also it's renewed. And this is a show. I was saying this. I don't want almost any show to drop in a binge. I want every show to be a weekly release. I do think there are certain shows that I think can work really well in a binge, and I actually think The Paper is one of them. I think that, like I said this a couple weeks now, but like I do think there's something about this show that I think it would have been a disservice to like drop these weekly, and instead I think like sort of like, I don't know, you just got to live in it for a bit longer. And I thought, I actually think this was the time. I do think generally you can binge drop comedies, I think is maybe.
Yeah, I think like
traditional comedies.
People have gotten really used to watching these kinds of shows in this way. Like right
100%.
now, like so many people just watch The Office years after it came out on a binge. Like that's how people watch Parks and Rec. Like the pandemic changed our brains where we only want to watch something, like we just want to like get in our jammies and watch episode after episode of the same thing and not think about it.
I didn't need the pandemic for that.
And this is exactly the kind of show that people are likely to turn to. So I get why they would want to release it this way. Like, I do feel like, though, I don't know, it's only 10 episodes. Like,
that's my biggest problem. It needs to be more. And then I think you should like drop like 6 at a time and do like a 24 episode season and drop 6 a week. And I'd be like delighted by that. That's actually what I actually want. But because it's only 10, I'm like, yeah, just give me all 10. You know?
One day we'll figure this out. One day,
probably not. Actually,
I think that AI actor Tilly Norwood is gonna
She was just cast for season 2.
She's just gonna hack maybe each person will have a personalized algorithm of exactly how many episodes that they want to watch.
Oh wow!
And then that's how it will release for you.
Wow, brilliant. All right. Well, speaking of things about how they will release for you, they're all going to be released for us in the same way. There's a few new shows coming out this week. I'll highlight 3 that I think are like sort of like top of mind. We've been talking a lot about comedies. Abbott Elementary returns this week. Amanda, I'm excited. I love Abbott. I think Abbott is like, I feel like Abbott is. We're gonna look back in like 10 years and be like, wow, we didn't appreciate Abbott.
Underappreciated. Yeah.
It's so underappreciated. It's so great. Excited for it to be returning.
Yes, and this is one I can watch with my kids, and they're into it, and their friends all like
and
it.
It's Philly core.
It's Philly core. We love that. Abbott is a gem.
Okay, very exciting. Ariel, we talked about several movies that Glenn Powell was in, and Glenn Powell was like doing a bunch of movies. He seemed like he was going to be like maybe a big movie star, and I still think he is going to be, but he also is just randomly in a show coming out this week on Hulu called Chad Powers, which is basically, I believe, the guy that Powell is playing, Russ Holiday, like gets canceled and then has to do like a physical transformation with prosthetics and a wig to then like become a football quarterback again. And I just don't really understand what's happening, but I am going to watch it. I am going to watch Chad Powers. But what are we doing?
Yeah, it's just, the idea that it's like based on kind of like skit, like
right?
skit. Yeah, I guess
Eli
it's like I was
Manning,
thinking commercial. That would have been bad. But yeah, that Eli Manning was originally portraying, and then it's like, let's do a show about it. It feels strange. I'm kind of like worried for everyone involved, honestly, especially my guy Toby Huss, who's in it, who I love from *Halt and Catch Fire*.
Steve Zahn is in it as well.
It could be good, but like,
yeah.
I like Glenn Powell fine. I'm curious to see what will happen when Running Man comes out, the movie. But Chad Powers,
this looks really dumb.
It feels like a TV advertisement come to like a show, even though it was a skit.
Yeah, it does feel
We've
like
had skits make good movies, though.
Ted Lasso was basically a commercial that went on to become one of the most successful television shows. This does feel like a show, like a concept of a show that would have been really popular in like 2004. Like I feel like when like we had a lot of really like questionable movies, I think, come out around that time. And I feel like this could have this feels like then. I do, for what it's worth, like I really like Glenn Powell, and I do actually think he makes like pretty smart choices. So then like the piece of me is like, what if this is like secretly amazing?
Like amazing, yeah.
I haven't seen it. We'll see. I don't know.
I want it to be good. I guess.
We'll see. And then another show comes out this week on Netflix. I believe it's all dropping. This is the 3rd iteration of the Monster series from Ryan Murphy and Ian Brennan. This is Monster, the Ed Gein story. Have any of you done any monstering? We had obviously
you'd have to specify. There are a lot of monsters going on.
We had the Lyle and Eric Menendez story last year, and we had the Jeffrey Dahmer story 2 years ago. So this is the latest iteration of this thing that they're doing.
This is really not my favorite kind of genre, and I know that I've heard good things about some of the performances, but it's like it's one of those like dark places in the world that that some people find very intriguing and interesting to look into, but not totally my thing. I know that there was controversy around the Jeffrey Dahmer.
His family, the family of the victims were like, please don't watch this show. Yes.
And so I didn't watch that. But what do we hear? What do we hear about this iteration, Grace? Any buzz?
I feel like it's the least buzz because I think like Dahmer is such a big figure, and then obviously there's so much about the Menendez brothers.
At a moment,
Ed Gein is a very interesting character in that like this feels to me the most like American Horror Story, and I in the sense that like it does seem like some of what this will be about is the fact that like Ed Gein is kind of the guy who like inspired a ton of movie serial killers. Like he's like, I think if you look back, like he's the inspiration for sort of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and like a bunch of stuff because he just came out like it all sort of came around at a time when like then it could be sensationalized into like media because like I believe Tom Hollander, who from the White Lotus is playing Alfred
Yeah.
Hitchcock. So like I do think there's going to be like as much about like as much as there is like this is how it kind of all got like I don't know exactly the timeline of all this stuff where like was he but there's something to be as somebody who like is deeply interested in culture, there is something maybe about this that like could be interesting. I'm not opposed to watching stuff like this, I will say, especially around this time of year. Joey Polari is playing Anthony Perkins. Anthony Perkins, I think, is like a very interesting thing where like he I think he was closeted, I believe, his whole life, basically. So yeah, I'm not opposed to this type of thing, but I totally get it. People are like, no, thank you. I never need to see this. Totally fine, but yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it is a little bit. I know there's like the other shows. There's Nightmares of Nightmares, Smiling Friend. There's a bunch of Sisters Grimm is coming out. I don't know if there's anything else that sort of like picked up on your radar, but these are kind of the things. Along with Smashing Machine is the new Dwayne Johnson movie with Benny Safdie. I texted him, and I was going to. This is one of my weirdest days in my life. Is I was going to interview Mae Martin. I in the elevator was in the same elevator as Benny Safdie and told him how much I love The Curse. And I said it was weird that he was in character as his character from The Curse. And then as I was getting off the elevator, I ran into Toni Collette before I went and interviewed Mae Martin. It was one of the weirdest days of my entire life.
That's a very day in the life of Grace.
Very weird.
Yeah.
So weird.
But the Smashing Machine
like my
is
weird days.
Yeah. Smashing Machine is based on a UFC fighter. I did see it. I think his performance is really good. The Rock's performance is really good. It's pretty standard biopic-y stuff, I think generally. But if you like that, you like, a lot about like the grueling nature of fighting and and then there's like some mimicry in terms of like how much Rock put into this role with like what the guy Mark Kerr put in the role. Like there's something there. It's shot really interestingly, I think, but it's you don't need to rush to see it, but the Smashing Machine. Anything else on either of your radars?
No,
Mad Men.
All this, all this incredible TV we're about to get.
You're not looking forward to On Brand with Jimmy Fallon? Maybe.
No,
not my number one.
Really.
Not my number
Jimmy
one.
Fallon
Jimmy
is not really my Jimmy.
Yeah, let's see what
On Brand with Jimmy Fallon is a competition reality show where
God, I know what you're talking about now. This is devilish. This is like the worst iteration of this is
capitalism upon capitalism,
yeah.
which is where fans of pitch ads for brands. On Brand.
Horrible. They fit right in on Mad Men, Amanda.
Wait, so these are real brands.
This is a reality show that where normal people, normies, are pitching ads to big companies and then getting to make them / you win something. I don't know.
It's a business reality competition show, Fallon says. It's like Shark Tank meets The Apprentice meets Project Runway.
Yeah, The Apprentice, a show we should all continue to appreciate.
Anyway, we don't need to talk.
Maybe late night is a mistake. Maybe we do need to cancel late night.
Well,
all right. Well,
we had a good run.
I think then that's the Tastemakers for the week. A long one, but we're a triple header here. So the three of us chatting about stuff. Very, very fun. There's a lot of TV this week and a lot of news.
A lot, yeah.
All right, you are doing a Mad Men rewatch. Tell us everything else where people can find Crying Laughing and everything else you're doing.
Yes. Well, please find us on Crying Laughing Pod. You can find us in your podcatcher of choice. And we are in season 2 of our Mad Men rewatch coverage, which has been very, very fun. Every week, Ariel and I are in your ears talking about an episode of Mad Men. We have a lot of people watching along with us, some people watching for the first time. You can email us, cryinglaughingpod@gmail.com. What we like to do on the Crying Laughing Pod is have one classic TV rewatch. So we went through all of 6 Feet Under. That was incredible. Now we're doing Mad Men. And then we always have at least one other podcast a week where we'll talk about current things that are airing. Like we have covered The Bear, we've covered Hacks. We've covered, we mentioned Presumed Innocent and Shogun. Whatever's like the buzzy thing that I can actually stay awake during is usually what we'll watch. But right now in our second weekly slot, we have Grace doing the series on this century in cinema, which has been really, really great to be hosting on the feed, covering different movies from the New York Times 100 Best Films of the 2000s. So that's since 2000.
Since
20,
2000.
yes, the past 25 years. So yeah, Ariel, is that what we do? Did I basically get it?
Yeah, got it. Always, sprinkling in
Mhm.
modern TV takes and
Mhm.
reactions to things,
We
even in
actually
our
have
Mad
like
Men episodes.
yeah,
But
on our
yeah,
Mad Men episodes, we kind of have a little mini
we're
tastemakers. Like
selfish.
Yes.
so this was fun to come on and have it in a long format because we always like just kind of catch up on TV news of the week and anything we're watching. So this was like an extended version of like the first 30 minutes of every one of our weekly podcasts.
So delightful to have you on. I had Philly last week talk about Gladiator. This week I'm having Megan the librarian on to talk about Fish Tank. So
Library, the movie. Oh,
yes,
Fish Tank. Never mind.
And then next week, I think Amanda will schedule
Francis Ha.
Francis Ha, you and I,
Yeah.
talking about Wombat.
LOL.
Yeah, and then Interstellar. What a run it's gonna be.
I can't wait to go back to space.
Yes. You can follow me on social media at Hi from Grace. You can check out everything I'm doing on Parade or Popeyes. I'm doing dark recaps and I'm recapping Survivor as season 49 is airing now. So check me out over there. Make sure you pre-order Taran's book. Taran should be back. We'll see if he's back next week or the week after, but TBD on that. Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.